Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy
Yes,
Monday. It's great
How's your
to
guys'
see you
fourth?
guys.
It's great to see you too. How was the long weekend that turned into another weekend pretty much right after?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about because
4th of
the
July?
holiday was on Tuesday. So,
Well, that was a long weekend. I didn't work on Monday. I don't know about you guys,
Oh,
but I
yes.
extended. I made that a 4-day weekend, baby. Let's go. Best
good for
holiday
you,
of the week.
buddy. We're very much in the building phase, so
Yeah.
those luxuries don't exist.
I was in Indianapolis with my family, so that was nice. Got to see some cousins and did a small amount of work, but tried to, focus on the fam. So that was nice.
Yeah. I love it. Well, hope you guys had as much fun as I did. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be fun. I think we've talked about it on the podcast and internally, like, hey, we should try to not have as many guests on the show. But then, this guy, he acquired a company and we kind of talked about it on the show in a segment. And then, just kind of happened to say like, hey, let's just get him on the podcast and do it. So I'm excited to have Jesse DePinto, CEO and founder of Frontdesk, on the show. But before we jump in, anything exciting on kind of like the radar for you guys in any shape or form? It could be news, it could be company related, before we jump into the interview and kind of going into the discussion.
I have little teasers, little Easter eggs. I can't say anything right now. So
Ooh.
some fun
All right.
stuff. I mean, it's not breaking news, but some fun things to come this summer.
Okay. How about you, Golden? Any castle breaking news or excitement?
We signed 2 more last week, so that's great. They're beautiful.
Again, this is
Massive.
my plug. GMH live recording in a castle. Now I'm
Will.
saying it publicly.
Come on,
For
Will.
everyone.
Hey, I don't have the budget, so if Delta Airlines, any airline wants to sponsor this episode to fly us out to a castle, that would be great.
Yeah.
Then we could afford that, or
Maybe
any other
Frontdesk
sponsor
could.
listening right now. Yeah, maybe Frontdesk. I don't know. Maybe we get Jesse.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, we're gonna start hounding all of our guests to start sponsoring their episodes.
By the end of the episode, we'll have convinced Jesse to have paid for our flights to a castle. He might
All right.
even get to come along.
Yeah.
So without further ado,
Let's bring him on. Jesse,
Oh man,
welcome to the podcast.
welcome, buddy.
this
No
is
pressure.
the first and last time I crashed this party. You guys are going to hit me up for airline tickets. No,
Listen,
it's great
that's
to be
what
here.
happens.
Good to see
Well,
you guys.
thanks for joining us all the way from Milwaukee. Man, this is excitement, or not excitement. This is exciting for me. Obviously, my coffee hasn't kicked in. I can't even talk right now. But I'm excited to see you again. We recently had you on Slick Talk, a couple weeks ago, going all over the AI conversation. But now here we are to talk about consolidation and the way the industry is shifting. And you guys have had a recent acquisition. I think the company was called Zencity, correct?
right.
Out in Chicago. Nice. Awesome. And so we would love to know maybe a little bit behind the scenes of what you could share with that. Also, for any listeners maybe that haven't heard of Frontdesk or the amazing Jesse DePinto, can you give us like a 30-second overview just to kind of introduce us to
best beard in the biz.
This guy. Thanks for Will and team. Thanks for having me and letting me crash your party. I was saying in the pre-show here, these are the 3 people I would go find at a Verma conference to go have a happy hour somewhere. So now it's over coffee. So all fun.
Yes.
All fun. So thank you for having me here. So a quick overview. My name is Jesse DePinto, co-founder and CEO of Frontdesk. Frontdesk is a hospitality brand helping business and leisure travelers experience a place that feels like home in the conveniences of a hotel in downtown US metro upscale apartments. And so we're about 6.5 years running now, and we have grown to about 25 U.S. markets, over 1,000 unique locations to stay, and we host about 200,000 guests every year in and out of our units. So it's been a fun ride. It's been a wild ride. If you're watching Twitter, Will, shout out to you for getting Jamie Lane on a podcast early on in that. So that's a fun one to dive into too. But it's been a great ride. We have grown to about 200 teammates across the country, vertically integrated from our tech platform and the engineers, data scientists doing that, to the boots on the ground front lines that make the magic happen for these trips and these vacations for people. So excited to be here, and also noteworthy this time around, and Will, I sort of teased this out on our last podcast, wasn't able to share the details quite yet, but we recently acquired a company by the name of Zencity. It's a Chicago-based operator, direct competitor. They are incredible operators. They have great locations across Chicago, Kansas City, and we overlap in these markets and are starting to build some real meaningful scale and some more options for our travelers. And also it supports a more business corporate push with sort of the brand direction they were headed. And so there's a lot of synergies. It was overall a shockingly fun experience. And so happy to elaborate on some of the nuts and bolts of a corporate acquisition like this, but thrilled to say we're across the finish line, and actually post integration too. So overall, great experience, and I think that it sort of follows the industry consolidation buzzwords that you hear at virtually every conference you go to since the beginning of this business. So it's finally starting to happen in the urban spot, and we at Frontdesk are excited to play a role in that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
To be fair, the majority of the consolidation this year has been on the software tech vendor side. There hasn't been a whole lot, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, on the management side. And a large part of that's because Vacasa is not out there doing what Vacasa has done the past 5-10 years. Mm-hmm. And on the urban side, Saunders never done an acquisition. Romy, Frontdesk until now, has never done an acquisition. Casa, to my knowledge, there's no one's really done it. I've talked to some former Sonder people, and they, similar to Airbnb, are very insular. We're not going to buy anyone. We're the best. We're going to, take this to the moon. And I think it is a good time to be doing it. There's a little bit of softening in the market, and funding is a bit challenging, but the opportunity is still there. People still want to stay in apartments. We've covered on the show about 30% of hotel properties in construction right now are extended stay or suite type of inventory. So clearly the traveler demand is not being seen just by us in the vacation rental space, but also like very sophisticated hoteliers.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandy.
Yeah, I wanted to first acknowledge that we are friendly competitors on this show. So I've been very excited to get you on and put you in the hot seat. But kind of when we're going through these, as Michael was saying, this is kind of like the first, urban operator that's been big in consolidation. So when you're going through this process and you're looking through potential acquisitions, what were some of the things that you were like top 3 things you were looking for in a company to acquire?
Yeah. So good question. And it changed from beginning to end of the process, right? At the beginning of the process, we've talked to dozens of operators over the founding of this company. Brandy, we admire you guys and everything you're doing over there at Romy. You're setting the bar high on the guest experience, so it's fun to follow that. But I think I ran into Andreas, at a Verma happy hour probably 3 or 4 years ago, right? So a lot of these conversations with operators have been at these events and kind of being nurtured over many years and getting to know people really well. And so, at the beginning, it was very much about the financial performance of these operators. This is a very difficult macro cycle for the industry, and it's also tough, a tight capital and credit markets out there with the Fed rate hikes. And so, path to profitability is always the number one, number two, and number three thing with these type of deals. If it doesn't increase your bottom line, then there's no way it gets across the finish line with how much work it takes to get these type of deals done. But now in hindsight, I look back and say, what was the number one thing that made this acquisition go well? It was the people that we hired, the CEO, the head of business operations, some of the operating leaders. And what happened was we were able to kind of create this juggernaut of A players working with other A players. And that's been a huge breath, a new kind of re-energizing idea, and our company morale, our employees are working harder than they ever have. But we see sort of the picture, we see the path forward here, and we also, A players love working with more A players, and so the people side actually ended up. I would say we got very lucky. I think we thought that the people here at this company, Zencity, shared our core values. They were strong operators, just very strong. But you never know until you actually cross the finish line and integrate. They actually over delivered on their promises, and that's always a happy thing to see. So, for some of the future go arounds here, it's going to be people first, the bottom line second. And, the other things that are intangible, obviously how they treat their guests, their hospitality brands, their reputation among property owners. Those things are very valuable. So, when you have some of the big competitors, the Vacasas and Saunders, talking about brands, half of it is, how many guests are booking direct, but the other half is, how do your property owners feel if we were to poll half of them, or how do your guests feel if we were to poll half of them, because their brand is now our brand, and that's a big thing.
So, because it hasn't been done before on the urban side, what's the ideal structure, or is there an ideal structure on acquisition? It sounded like you wanted to keep this team. That might not always be the case. Cash is king, but there's also a bigger vision. If you can roll enough in, then there's, IPO potential. What's the ideal structure if there is one?
Yeah, I don't know if there is one. Every deal is different. Every situation is very unique. But what I can say that's pretty common in this type of consolidation play, as well as other industries, is looking at all the wheels being recreated. Right, we're all recreating the wheel. We're all coming up with our own brand, our own newsletters, our own kind of SOPs. Brandy, if we compared our wiki versus your wiki, they would probably look shockingly similar.
Yep.
Yeah, it took twice the time as building one of them. The technology is a big piece too. So we built our tech in-house from day one, and it enabled this very seamless integration to get their inventory on our platform, within 2 weeks time, and not just get it on the platform, but actually take it to the next level. So, I would say, looking at what wheels are being recreated, if you're just smudging two portfolios together and not trying to think through what are those synergies, what are those efficiencies that we can gain at scale, and really trying to draw a pencil around what are the true economies of scale in this business, you start to look at what type of collaborations could make sense together. But a lot of wheel recreating happening in the short-term rental space. Would love to see that brain power go toward, more meaningful, bigger bets to really take this industry to the next level.
Jesse, I would like to know, so with the team obviously being part of the acquisition and going into kind of like what Michael said too, cash is king, but then also like you have this like path of growth, and depending on what the overall strategy is, there's a lot of different structures. I want to know, just from the sense of like, team is really important, obviously. Hospitality, I think you're one of the few, you and Brandy, one of the few operators I really hear, at least in media, talking about being a hospitality brand outside of being like an operator or, whatever, an urban focused brand, whatever the terms are that are being used. You actually specifically say the word hospitality brand. And so when it came to the properties of Zencity and kind of going into like that decision making, is that ever been an impact, or is that something like, hey, yeah, we're acquiring this company, but at the end of the day, if we don't like the inventory, or if the inventory doesn't fit our mold, then we can just dump it?
Yeah. So, I mean, brand's a big thing, right? Brandy, you can attest to this, right? It's easy to say and throw out there. It's a lot harder to actually execute on. And as they say, you can takes years to build a brand and you can lose it overnight. And so you have to constantly be battling that. When it came to our acquisition of Zencity, the idea was actually to try to replicate what we're doing at a smaller scale, to build it in and get some acquisition muscle started, right? So we actually intentionally looked for a company that had a similar brand, a similar markets, as similar as possible to reduce our risk of integration. Down the road, we might be looking at some more strategic bets, some more kind of new verticals to expand into, and then you start to get a little choosier. But for us, we were looking for, the litmus test we always used is, one of our core values is wow the guest, and the question was, would one of Frontdesk's guests be wowed if they walked into a Zencity unit? And I did a cross country tour, stayed in 3 of their units, drove past every single other unit, and in 3 different markets, that is, and it was the exact same experience in all 3 markets. You open up the kitchen cabinets and you have just as many wine glasses and pint glasses and dishes. That's a hard thing to do at scale in 3 different markets to make sure those brand standards are replicated. So that was a big thing for sure.
Yeah, the kind of that brand consistency. I mean, I know that even keeping things consistent across multiple markets within your own brand is difficult. And so absorbing another one, I imagine that you have kind of like a phased rollout of all of that happening. How is that kind of physical on the ground experience been of like that part of the acquisition?
Pretty seamless. So we built our own PMS in-house, and we were able to kind of cut them off of all of their systems within 2 weeks. And it was a similar process to some of our SaaS clients. We have some SaaS clients that we onboard, where this is not new for us, is figuring out how to move from one PMS to ours, and then how to get those units up and running. That happened within 2 weeks. I would say we're still going through the boots on the ground integration. That's atoms, not bits. It's a little harder. I'm sure there's Zencity signs everywhere you look in these units still. That's something that we're still rolling out. But from a consumer standpoint, it doesn't. It's a little confusing, and so it's not ideal. But we're still getting the rating scores. The housekeeping teams was an interesting one. We had to consolidate these 2 different housekeeping teams. So you have housekeepers A, B, and C, and the housekeepers D, E, F, and then you tell them, hey, there was this acquisition and you're all working together now. And in many ways, it actually ended up being a positive experience, because a lot of these housekeepers, especially the top housekeepers, they want more jobs. They want more cleans. And so it ended up, again, just another synergy, a way for us to make this a positive. It really was truly sort of a win-win-win across the board to most of our stakeholders. You can't always please everybody, but everybody from our guests to our partners, our employees, and our shareholders, it was a big win all around. So definitely something we're going to look to continue doing.
Well, I have to say, a 2-week migration of any kind, I can't even begin to express my jealousy. That's a little bit of PTSD on my part. But then I totally get it from like the boots on the ground perspective, where, we did a name change, which is kind of, similar to what you're doing. You're having to replace everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you realize like how many stickers you have with your logo on it. And, like how many signs you actually have. And I'll just encounter things that have been branded and be like, okay, got to do that. But when I was kind of panicking about it, like, and wanting it all to happen quickly, Andreas once told me that it took like 4 or 5 years for whenever I think United bought an airline or something like that. It took them 5 years to replace all the physical stuff. So I was like, okay, I
Of
have.
course, Andreas would know like how
Yeah.
long it took an airlines.
I know. Well, I think he might have looked that up because I was panicking. So he was trying to give me some reassurance. So I'll give that nugget to you that, like, you know, I think obviously our brand is important and you want the guest to see it, but I think that the guest doesn't necessarily see it, like the tiny details, as much. So if that, you know, gives your team a little bit of breathing room, you have some time, I think.
Well, I was gonna
So,
say,
yeah.
Brandy, from Max to raising capital faster than what you maybe have expected to now Jesse
I know.
migrating over faster in 2 weeks. It's like, I don't think you can really win with any of our guests
I
right
know.
now.
I know. Hey, I know. I'm feeling a little beat down.
It
I love it. Sorry,
Now-
just had to give Brandy a little tease on that.
Jesse, you're not being shy about wanting to continue these acquisitions. What's the end goal? Is there a unit count? Is there, you know, some sort of revenue numbers that allow you to IPO, or where do you see this all?
I mean, the beautiful part about this this industry is that there's a huge sky, the sky is the limit, right? Is such a big market, and you know, there's market turbulence that happens like in 2020 or this year. All those viral tweets. Yes, RevPAR is down. It's not down as much as people want you to think, but it is down. It's not the prime, the peak that it was the past 2 years. There's all the ups and downs, but generally the overall macro trend is up. It's very much up. It seems that if you look from a 1,000-foot view, short-term rentals are definitely eating market share into hotels. As you said, the construction pipeline for hotels are becoming more extended stay. All of the hotel brands are now coming up with their own take on extended stay, and they're all still trying to figure it out. You know, the macro trends are very good, and the market is very large. And this is why it's fun to talk to friendly competitors like this, because it's not a winner-take-all market. It's a huge sea out there with lots of fish, and you know, for us, the goal is I don't know. I have an incessant desire for growth, right? So it's a fun market from that standpoint, where we've only scratched the surface. We're tier 2, tier 3, and some tier 1 US markets. We haven't even touched global. We haven't even touched you know, suburban. And so for us, the direction is just
Be a
more.
politician, Jesse. Way to not answer the question.
Yep.
Very good non-answer. So do you have
Here
unit
all
count
night.
goals or an IPO desire?
Those are all means to an end. You know, what we're really trying to do is make memorable experiences, make a great place to work, and make some very happy people that want to build something great. So
Yeah, that was a really phenomenal political answer.
Jesse for president 2024. Let's go.
Someone's been taking some PR training. So shifting into technology, there's, in terms of operators out there, there's few that I kind of that are synonymous with tech forward and actually understand tech. You know, you knew the noiseware technology way better than I ever did. So I think share a little bit on your tech stack, where that's going, what you want the end to be there, and maybe it's less political and more technical.
all right. Well, I'll get nerdy and take my politician hat off here for a second. Yeah. So I love debating this one, the buy versus build topic when it comes to property PMSs and tech stacks in the short-term rental space. You know, there's great PMSs out there. There's Guesty, there's Track, there's Hostfully. All those tools are, you know, they've come a long way, I'll say, in the past 6 years. So when we first made this decision to buy versus build, this was 7 years ago, when you know, Booking Sync and some of these other platforms dominated the market, and none of them made the cut. And it was so new, so nascent, so buggy that we said, okay, screw it, we're just going to do it ourselves. That's sort of how it started. Once we got a taste of it, we built our own pricing algorithm about 5 years ago. And once you get the taste of building your own tech, if you do it well, and this is sort of a strength of yours, and we learned early on, you know, I'm a former engineer, I'm a AI nerd, as you could see from me going to Will's podcast just to talk about AI. These are fun topics for me. I came from a background of previous to Frontdesk. I was building out hotel automation technology platforms within hotels. We were doing keyless entry and Wi-Fi thermostat, the energy saving thermostats, sort of Nest at an enterprise scale. And that was one of the inspirations of me getting into short-term rentals. It seemed like a really ripe opportunity where tech actually provides an advantage rather than just being something that is fun to say and put in investor pitch decks. And so always have appreciated the short-term rental industry for how tech forward it is. I mean, generally speaking. And so we made the decision to build our own tech in-house, and our vision for that is purely to provide a better experience, right? We want to make sure we're controlling that end-to-end experience for our guests and for our property owners. And so to really do that well, or at least our strengths, we're providing that platform. Now flash forward 5 years later, we took that pricing algorithm, we turned it into a full-blown property management system that's tied to it. We have a guest portal and a keyless entry system, mobile app, and now you start to think about how AI can impact the tech stacks at a short-term rental business. I think there's huge potential to actually increase margins in this business over time, to really scale units faster than you're scaling headcount. And so that's a really exciting opportunity that even us as kind of nerds coming into this industry 7 years ago never would have predicted that technology would have made its way to the tool stack this year. I think ChatGPT surprised a lot of analysts. I don't think the entire world thought AI was at the point it was now, until the beginning of the year. So it all leads me to say we've come to really appreciate having control of that tech stack, of that experience. But I will acknowledge there's a lot of really great tech out there. And if you were to start a business, if we were to start Frontdesk today with the tech that exists in the industry today, would it be the same? That's the same strategy? Maybe not. And so sort of a function of the time we were there. However, today it provides a really useful tool for scale. It supports these acquisitions. It provides really meaningful ways for us to build synergies and economies of scale in the industry and increase the overall guest experience. So we're fans of the tech, but let's hear the other side of this.
Yeah, I have to say, I advise every single person that ever asks my opinion on this to not build their own tech. And if your focus and your history is in building that kind of thing, then yes. But if you're an operator that is just like, oh, is that what I should be doing to get some money and some funding, my answer is always no. And I think from your from your story, it's a little bit different because you have that experience with that kind of technology and building it, and you have that experience. I think that there are some people that get a little sidetracked by that, and so that's throughout the last couple of years you had to dedicate some of your brain space to both sides of that. And I think that for some people might be really difficult to manage and I think the tech shiny object can be a shiny object that distracts you. And there was an operator a couple of years ago that went out of business, and they spent $2 million on an app that never went live. And we bought it for $40,000 and haven't really done much with it because we were like, well, let's see if we can do something fun with it. But that was just $2 million that was just flushed down the toilet. And so I really caution operators, if you are getting bigger and you really want to focus on operations, it's go get yourself a really established PMS Track that has kind of everything you need involved. It might not be exactly the tiny details that you want, but it's a really robust system. And if you're large enough, maybe you can influence the product map. So that's always my operators just not getting distracted when our margins are so thin. And if you want to bring on those teams, those are really high paid engineers, or you're spending a lot of money on a third party consultant or something like that. So really making sure that if you have the desire to build your own tech, that you are very, very clear about what that looks like and what the end goal is, and that you have the financial bandwidth to actually do it.
And Jesse mentioned something that I agree completely with. 5 years ago, tech in the industry was early, right? But now you do have consolidation and both vertical and horizontal integrations of different systems. So TravelNet, with Track and then buying Rented, these types of things that more and more value can be driven through the PMSs than you might be able to just build yourself. So technology has come a long way. I think it's only it'll be exponentially better this time next year as more and more acquisitions happen with, the big two or the big three. And then really building your own at this point doesn't make sense. Now, having already built it, that is a huge advantage in-house because it keeps long-term tech costs lower. You probably forked a bunch of cash into it for a while, but once it's in a good place, you are going to be saving money long-term. So
yeah,
I totally get the calculus there. It was probably the right decision at that time, but to Brandy's point, like starting a company today, I wouldn't advise it.
There's also franchise models popping up too. And so there's, tech plus brand. It's funny, we started the conversation talking about consolidation and now we're talking about tech, and it's all the same story, which is the maturing of the short-term rental space, right? When you first start, everybody has to do everything. There's no specialization because there's no tool that fits. And now as the industry consolidates, you find the economies of scale. There's industry consolidation on the operator side, on the tech side. People are picking a lane and they're specializing. So we'll see. You throw AI into the mix. I do think that's going to change a lot. I think it's going to make it a lot more accessible for the average operator in a low-code way to achieve the tech features that they once had to rely on a third party for, and will give them some control. So I think that could change from typical industry dynamics if you throw AI and low code into the mix. There's a I think it's called low code STR. There's a guy I met at the IMN, that is helping kind of operators achieve these low code workflows. That it's amazing what you can do these days that you couldn't do 5 years ago, even if you do decide to build it yourself. So yeah, it's going to be fun to watch how this all evolves.
Well, Jesse, speaking of tech consolidation, and especially with the acquisition of Zencity and now trying to like replace everything in house that's like not Frontdesk branded, you okay if we do a quick segment brought to you by Sojo? Just really quick.
Let's do it.
Just a brief one. All right, the segment's called What's in the Box. Are you ready? So, what's in the box? Do you know what's in this box right now, Jesse?
Shampoo bottles. So
it's actually 30 days free of Sojo for you, dedicated just to you, just for being on this podcast. So that's actually what's in the box. And yes, amenities, but just want to let you know. So
all right.
That's
all right.
Brought to you by Sojo.
Thank you.
Now, one of the famous things we do with every guest is to do a rapid fire question round with the three of us to you. Preferably political hat is off for this. So it's usually like yes, no, or
quick
like
answers.
a very short answer. Yeah, very quick answers. So I will let Michael round it up or start it off because it's his favorite segment of the whole show whenever we have a guest. So
how many kids do you have?
Michael.
How many kids do you have?
3.
How many property units do you want to grow to?
This one again. I know where you're going with this one. Sky's the limit, Mike. Sky's the limit.
All right. Well done. Beach or mountain?
Mountain.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Urban or destination?
Urban.
Next family vacation?
Not camping. I just got back from a camping trip, and man, 3 kids and camping, that's more work than vacation. So I'll go camp with my wife by herself sometime.
What has Sonder done wrong?
Oh boy.
Is that
You're asking
rapid
for
fire?
some fighting words here?
Rapid
Okay.
fire.
What has Sonder done wrong?
Quick.
I think they grew very quickly. Let's just leave it at that.
All right. Brandy?
Mexican or Thai?
Oh, Thai.
Tea or coffee?
Is that even a question? For
I
him?
know.
Coffee.
Sorry, that's a bad. Some people like tea. I don't know. You never know.
What industry are we in? Is this?
Yeah.
Is this?
Let's see. Football or basketball?
Oh, football. Go Packers.
Okay. And let's see. Michael's always the best at these. Okay. Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction. I'm boring with my book selection.
You know, no one ever chooses fiction for these things. And I'm like, I feel like I'm the only one. Am I the only one out here reading novels? Okay.
Yes.
I wish
Okay.
I could be like you, Brandy. I need more fiction in my life.
Yeah.
My goals.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
All right.
Correct answer.
Yes. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I hate this segment because I can't ever think of a question to do. So it's like, dang it.
But you
or
did
bill.
wonderfully.
Buy or bill, Jesse.
All right, I gotta rapid fire you guys now. Mike, I'm gonna hit you with the hard questions. Just wait till I see next.
Haven't had the tides turned yet. All right, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You're one of my favorite frenemies in the industry. So
I got you, Brandy.
It's always fun. I can't wait to see you in person. And yeah, guys, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Just say thank you for being on and can't wait to have a happy hour with you at Verma.
Let's do it. Always happy to crash your guys' party.
What about you?
Cool.
What'd you say, Michael? I think
I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah. Any other breaking news? Make sure we're one of the first ones in there. We'll make sure to get you covered.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Thank you guys for having me. This is always fun as always.
Well, thank you so much, Jesse. And for all of our live viewers and listeners, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button for all things Frontdesk and Romy. We'll give you guys both a plug at the same time, but then also make sure you have your notifications turned on for Good Morning Hospitality. And we'll see you again next week, every Monday, the best day of the week.